Hey everyone, this is the 100 subscriber special. It is a special because it is not a r/no sleep story, but in fact a true story from my brother. I have taken down his accounts of the events, I have written it out in a story format, of course, and given it its title, so forgive the non-originality of it. But I thought it would be nice and special to at least bring some of my real life into what I do here. So, the title of this is The Girl in the White Dress. Original, I know. And let's begin. Hey, my name's Shin, and I'm writing this as I have something on my mind. It's been there since I was a child. When I was younger, my brothers and I were put into child, youth, and families. For those who do not know, it is the New Zealand version of foster care. This meant we ended up being sent to different houses with other children that were either in the same boat as us or had nowhere else to go. My family dynamic is as follows. We're a household of 3 boys and a mother, which I am the middle child. My older brother and I are only a year apart in age, so he and my youngest brother were both put into the same house together, whilst I was put into one of my own. We went through several homes over the course of several years, but I remember at one point being placed in a home with another kid, a girl, about 1 or 2 years older than me. For the purpose of this story, I will just call her Melissa. She and I got on quite well. We even used to go to the park and play. It was quite fun. On one particular day, she and I had finished playing and started heading home. On the way up the road to the house, we noticed a giant bush. One that you could climb on, and once at the top, you could rest without having to worry about falling through. We found this out, of course, by climbing on it. Once we reached the top, we saw that on the other side there was a forest with a giant tree in the middle poking through the top. We would climb this bush every weekend, building our curiosity each and every time. 3 weeks had passed, and over that time we started to notice a hole forming that seemed to be leading through the bush to the other side. So, when the hole was big enough, and after a quick, and I mean quick, discussion, we both decided to climb through to the other side and check it out. I mean, why the fuck not, right? We made our way through, and once on the other side, we started to follow a small trail. The trail took us across a tiny stream and led us to the center, where we stood in front of the large tree. It was huge, so tall that it looked as if it was stretching into the sky. After resting a while, we decided it would be an amazing place to play a game of hide and seek. And so, off we went. In the first game, I was it. So, of course, I had to find Mel. After about a half an hour of playing, we decided to have another break under the big tree. I spent my whole time trying to think of a great hiding spot for the next game. But before we could start our next game, something strange made us stop. In front of us, near the large tree, was this young girl who looked about 5 or 6. She was wearing a white dress, best described as an old-fashioned nightgown, which reminded me of something you would see in an old movie. I remember noticing the old white shoes she wore. You know the ones. They have the strap and buckle. You use them to tighten them up. Her hair was dark brown. The poor thing had it cut into what could only be described as a bowl cut, but trimmed slightly shorter over her eyes, probably so she could see properly. Her skin was as pale as a porcelain doll. I wish I'd paid more attention to her eyes. They're the only detail about her that I cannot fully remember. I keep finding myself wanting to say they were dark, maybe sunken. She slowly approached us and with a quiet voice asked, "What are you doing?" When we were young, we only thought she was a little bit odd. But now that I'm thinking back on it, I am left with a lot more questions. We both replied with a, "We're playing hide and seek." I remember the look of awe crossing her face with a slight perk to her voice, her replying, "Wow, really? Can I play too?" Melissa and I looked at each other and, with a shrug of our shoulders, we both said, "Why not? But you should ask your parents first, so that they know where you are." She smiled. "Okay." She continued, "I live up here." So, we followed behind her, making our way through the thicker parts of the forest. I remember we started to wonder why she lived so deep in the forest, but after what felt like 12 hours, we finally arrived near her house. She looks up at us and says, "I'll be right back. I'll just go talk to my dad." So, we waited. We waited for what would have been around 10 to 15 minutes and started to wonder what was taking so long. We started getting impatient, as children do. So, we decided to walk up the path to where she said her house was. And the surprise we got seeing that house was something I have not forgotten. It looked run down, the windows covered in dust from the inside. We walked closer and peeked through a spot that didn't seem to have any dust. It looked almost as if someone had wiped it away to look out. Looking inside, I could see there was an old wooden table with 4 chairs that had looked as if someone had set it up for dinner. However, instead of food being found on the dinner plates, there was only a thick grey coating of dust, along with decayed flowers in a vase with the petals still on the table. There was a white cloth in the corner of the house next to the old fireplace, which looked like it hadn't been used in years. The amount of dust I saw was baffling. Suddenly, I got goosebumps. I looked over at Melissa. Her face had gone pale. I asked her, "What's wrong?" She looked back at me with a face full of fear and replied, "We have to leave now." After seeing her reaction, my fight or flight instincts kicked in and we both ran away from there with all of our might, making sure not to look back, weaving through trees and branches. We finally made it to the little stream and started traversing the trail. My heart was pounding faster as if someone was behind us the whole time. As soon as Melissa made it through the bush, I ran as fast as I could, and I shit you not, jumped through that bush and crawled my way through to the other side as quickly as possible. I just knew that if I stayed or slowed down, something would happen to me. And maybe I would be the one asking to play games with some unknown children. Anyway, I'm 29 now, and I still remember it clear as hell to this very day. A part of me really wants to drive out there to see if I can find that house again. Who knows, maybe the girl will appear again, but this time we can actually play that game of hide and seek. You might not believe this, but that's fine. I know what my eyes have seen. That's all that matters. So, thank you for reading my story. Just be safe when you're playing games in the woods. So, that was my 100 subscriber special. It was a very good story, written by my younger brother, so some bits made no sense to me, I'll be honest. I missed a lot of it growing up, but I'm glad that I could share it with you. And I truly hope that everyone who listened enjoyed it. Maybe I'll get some more stories from him. He believes a lot more in the supernatural than I do. I know, the irony. I am the one reading the horror story. But, hey, he had a few more experience than I did as a kid, I suppose. Anyway, it has been incredibly fun. And I hope that wherever you are, whatever time of the day or night it is, that you're safe, that you're happy, that you enjoyed this. But anyway, this is Grim, signing off.